Hey everybody, there's not going to be a daily dose of doom tonight. There's not much to report by way of news, really. It's pretty much been a quiet day. However, there is this video that is now, it appears that it has the potential to become very, very viral. Now, I'm not going to play you the whole video. I'm going to leave you the link in the description box. And, of course, the person that I'm leaving the link to, as I happen to know her and work with her, have had the opportunity to work with her in the past. There are, of course, a string of links that leads back to somebody who's originally uploaded the video. I don't know exactly who that is, and I'm not going to sit here and toil my mind to figure out who that is. So I'll just leave you that link right there. In this scene right here, where you can watch this whole video, they start coming off talking about how there are two gentlemen who are two little small guys who were military members of World War II. And they own a mine that the federal government, or the agency, the BLM, right? The administrative agency of the federal government, they want to acquire this mine badly. But the two gentlemen don't want to sell it. Unless, of course, they get $40 million for the sale. Now, this lady right here is talking about how, well, they're trying to figure out exactly how they're going to go about getting the money, taking money from this location, taking money over from Washington, D.C., Nebraska, the Western division of the BLM. How are they going to get the money to acquire this mine? Well, somehow they were able to acquire this mine for $2.5 million, but they don't exactly say how it was done. But we can tell by some of the talk that is going on in this meeting that it takes place behind closed doors that they are some evil entities right here, where they're chuckling and laughing and praising each other about how they're able to steal land and acquire land from the American public. That is all of us. That is people like the Hammonds. That's people like the Bundys. That's people like Mrs. Bullock, Mary Bullock, and plenty of other people that are going to be coming up here in the spotlight very, very soon out of Texas, Red River. They want to take the guy's land only because the water flow changed. And now, because that water flow changed, your land that you've been sitting on for over 100 years is now belongs to the BLM, the agency of the government. No, it doesn't. It belongs to the public, if anything. It doesn't belong to you. But, of course, I apologize for getting upset because this is really, really, it's terrible. It's terrible what is going on here, folks. And we're sitting here arguing with each other about whether somebody was a fire chief or a fire marshal or whatever. You could look it up. The guy was a Burns County fire chief, a Burns fire chief. And he became an honorary, or in name pretty much only, a fire marshal. He was asked to stay on. It's not unusual. All you have to do is take a look at Elvis Presley. He was made an honorary FBI agent, although that he wasn't really a FBI agent. You know? So, I mean, we're sitting here arguing about the most stupidest things while these people right here are chuckling behind closed doors and taking people's land. And we're supposed to just sit back here and go, you know what, dude, you're wrong about that, bruh. That dude, he wasn't a fire chief, dude. I'm just telling you. So, come on now. This is ridiculous what's going on here. And I'm going to show you right now exactly how they operate. Listen to what they say. And we're going to listen again to a small little snippet clip of Mr. Chris Briles. And you're going to hear who he has a problem with. And then I'm going to show you exactly why that person really is the evil problem out of Harney County. Let's take a listen to this.
And Dick, they have supported lands. Lands isn't always supported because we're the bad guys. We come in and we take this land, and we always take it for less than it's worth. So it has been a long struggle, but thanks to Mary, she's kept now the San Francisco office is the Oakland office. She's kept the office open, and I still talk to Washington and keep telling them you need more staff. So they do hope to staff up, and thanks to Shelton, too, for all he has done. But some of the things that we felt were really very I guess, stars, thanks to you, where Molly Core could tell us, oh, do you remember what we went through getting could tell us? It was just unbelievable.
That's when I met Sheldon.
Yes. And just thank you, you know, that is a great acreage. That is the only, Mary is the only superintendent has done that. I've been on, this is my third.
See that? They're talking about acreage that this lady right here was able to acquire from American people. How was she able to go about doing it? Well, they've already sat there and laughed about how they are the bad guys of taking people's lands. They tried to do it with the sugar pine mine. Start unplugging the cranium from thy anus and listen close. They have been doing it with the ranchers before the Bundys in Nevada. They've been doing it in Utah. They're getting ready to do it again in Texas. And they attempted to do it at the sugar pine mines. That's right. Acquiring lands, being the bad guys, and coming in and taking the land that other people own. That's what they're doing. But who's all involved in stuff like this? Let's listen to Mr. Chris Briles one more time.
I want to figure out what it is that we can do as citizens of the United States of America to retain our rights.
Yes, sir.
I guess that must be a bad thing,
No, sir.
because I was just informed just a few minutes ago by Steve Grasty that I'm an old man and I have nothing left and I'm not dangerous and that my perception is all wrong. I stand before you as a 63-year-old man and I don't feel old right now. I got scars all over me and I hurt all the time. Big deal. I am still a man and I still stand strong. After Mr. Grasty told me that, notice I'm not saying Judge Grasty. That to me is a respectful thing. I say Steve Grasty told me my perception was wrong. I asked him for a piece of paper. I have been the county fire chief here since 1984. I have served, I have worked with the Bundys, I've worked, or not with the Bundys, I'm sorry, with the Hammonds.
Now, you see who he just said that he was not going to honor with his honorary position, right? Your Honor, Mr. Grasty. He was not going to give him the respect of being called judge. Now, he went on later on to state here how he said that he was from 1984, the county fire chief. The whole thing is that if you listen to his whole speech, he was saying that he was messing up because, of course, he's nervous. He's sitting there in front of 50 freaking cameras, and he said that he was nervous and that he misspoke a couple times. He said it right here in the interview or the press conference. So all that I don't even, you know what? Don't even come to my channel arguing about it anymore, about whether he was Chief this or whether he was Chief Smoke 'em Poke 'em from the Slapaho tribe. I don't care. I know what he said. And what matters here is that he does not respect Judge Grasty. That's what we want to inspect right now, because we have a link directly from Judge Grasty to the BLM that we are about ready to investigate right now after we take a look at this. This right here is the story of Mary Bullock. All you have to do is Google her name. There is a lot of controversial stuff regarding this lady, because a couple of her husbands have wound up dead under mysterious circumstances. But that's beyond the scope of this presentation. We're not going to take a look at whether she's guilty or whether she was. She died at the age of 55. But here is the story that we know by Todd McFarlane. He is the guy who tried to help her out, and he wrote this story, and all of this is true, and I'm going to use his article specifically because it's so easy to let you know exactly what happened. Okay, back quite a few years back, Mrs. Bullock's husband had died in a freak accident surrounding his horse. She was left to tend her ranch all on her own. Well, what happened is the BLM created what they called the Grand Staircase Escalante National Monument was created that encompassed her entire ranch, right after he died. Just like they're creating the ranch, the national monument right there, Mr. Corbari talked about. Do you remember that? Right. They are making another national monument. That way that you can no longer use that grass to feed your cattle, and you will no longer have a ranch. Once you no longer have a ranch, right, or you cannot sustain it, well, the BLM will be right there to purchase your property off of you, and they will acquire even more land. That's how exactly they've been operating. Mrs. Bullock had all of her cattle up in the area where they just so happened to create this national monument. And this was in the summertime, and they told her that you have to remove your cattle now, right this minute, now. She said, it's going to be impossible for me to round up all my cattle. That's when she called in Mr. Todd McFarland for help of whether he can intercede with the BLM. He attempted to do so, and he also received the help of a man by the name of Mr. Art Tate. Mr. Art Tate was an employee inside the BLM right here, as you can see, a well-respected BLM manager. Well, what it turns out is that the BLM even told him, no way, Jose, we got our orders all the way from the top, that she is to remove her cattle now, not in the fall. Why the fall? Well, because when the fall was to hit, all of the cattle would return back home to the property. She could corral them up, and all would be gravy. But no, they were forcing the issue. They came and started all kinds of tactics of rounding up her cattle. Of course, they were saying that they were helping her, and they were using different cowboys. Then they came in with helicopters and nets. They were able to, sooner or later, to get about half of her herd corralled up. But instead of putting a lien on the cattle for the amount of money that they spent to round up her cattle, they didn't even give her any kind of benefit of court or justice redress or redress in the courts. They took her cattle and attempted to sell them. Right. Just like they did with Bundy, where they took his cattle and slaughtered them and then buried them underground. Well, how are they getting away with destroying people's personal property? You're supposed to follow the law. The law states, just like a salvaged ship, you cannot find a ship floating in the water with nobody aboard and take it home to your slip or to your whatever and claim it to be yours and sell it to somebody else. You have to put a lien on that for salvage rights. Then a bond gets placed on that ship until they figure out who the owner is, and then the owner has to pay you so much amount of money for your salvage time and everything else, and of course for upkeep of the ship while it's on hold. That's how the law is supposed to work, and it's supposed to work the exact same way with a situation just like this. You put a lien on the cattle, and you recoup the money that it cost you to round up her cattle, but they did not do that. They stated specifically that they were on orders from the top, and this came directly from Art Tate, that right here demonstrated a lot of common sense and understanding. Art attempted to work with the agency to mediate a satisfactory resolution, but to no avail. Agency bosses said they were under orders from the top and were unyielding in their agenda and marching orders. They wanted Mary's cattle off the range immediately, but Art did manage to secure commitments for a wide range of expensive BLM assistance if Mary would remove her cattle. At the end of the day, Art was so disgusted by the BLM's attitude, right? By the BLM's attitude, just like you saw here, that he retired. That's right. He left the BLM disgusted by what he was working with. Suffice it to say in this whole story that Mary Bullock died at the age of 55, a broken and destitute woman. So basically, the whole thing is that the BLM cares nothing, or your federal government, right? Because remember, if they're an arm of the federal government, that means the federal government's the body and the head, and they know everything that's going on. And, well, if you were able to go to the federal government and say, hey, this is what they're doing. Oh, I didn't know my arm was doing that. I'm going to put a stop to that. Why? Because you are an American citizen. You have American citizen. Let me take the word. You're an American. You have rights. You have right to redress. You have all of these rights. Yet when it comes to dealing with an administrative arm of the federal government, now you find yourself under administrative law. Since when did we agree as Americans to fall under administrative law or codified law? How did we find ourselves moved away from the common law or find ourselves under UCC law? We find ourselves under all these different laws, but we don't find ourselves firmly implanted with the Constitution as a umbrella. Why not? It's because we're getting screwed, folks, and nobody wants to look at the bigger picture of how we're getting screwed. That's the problem. We want to sit here and fight and argue about all of these different, oh, hey, fire marshal, fire chief, oh my God, oh Lord. What the hell does that matter right now? We're watching people talking about the Hammonds, talking about how, yeah, they started a fire. They were the ones who put the fire out. Yet they're trying to state that they maliciously started a fire to intentionally burn, well, public property, right? Public property. How about you let the public decide what's going to happen to them? We did not put you in charge of, our rights to that land. As a matter of fact, if you take a look at the video that I put up there, they are the purveyors of your rights when it comes to public lands. But yet, none of you agreed to any of that, did you? Well, that's why it takes the public to stand up and say, no more. No more are we going to allow you to be the exerciser of our rights when it comes to public land. Because the BLM is right there, and as you see, they're right there to take that land at every opportunity they get. So, you already heard this guy mention right here that Stephen Grasty is the problem. I guarantee you, if I was able to get a chance to talk to this gentleman right here, that you would find that Mr. Grasty is a very dirty, dirty person in that county. How do we know this to be true? Okay, let's take a look at something here. See this document right here, back from 2005? It's a desk guide to cooperating agency relationships. Now, talk about agencies here, right? So let's take a look at all of the agencies listed. We thank Interior Assistant Secretary of Land and Minerals Management, BLM staff, additional editing, research, and writing, as you can see right here, right? Intergovernmental Affairs, ADR program, Cultural Resources, Freedom of Information Office, BLM officer, and look at these external reviewers. Judge Stephen Grasty, Harney County, Oregon. Look at all of these other people right here. Utah Department of Natural Resources, right? Maryland Department of Natural Resources, Governor's Office, State of Wyoming, Environmental Protection Agency, Department of the Interior. You're telling me, out of 50 states, out of approximately 50,000 counties all around the United States, that in this document that has to do with the BLM, you find one particular judge, that's right, out of Harney County, Oregon, and this guy right here is telling you that Mr. Stephen Grasty is dirty. This document should be able to prove that this guy is absolutely telling you the truth. Now, if you go here and you look at all of this document right here, BLM Billings, Montana, Wyoming office, Institute of Environmental Conflict Resolution, Commissioner Art Blaine County, Montana, Nevada, San Juan County. Look at all of these different, just not very many at all, right? Just this list right here of quotations, but not so much about them being involved, right? These are external reviewers. So let us take a look exactly what Judge Stephen Grasty said that was quoted in this document. Our relationship with BLM, our. Who is our? Who is that? To say our relationship with the BLM is incredibly important to us. And the cooperating agency tool has benefited that relationship. If there is one area that needs to be improved, it's the need to spend more time defining our relationship as a cooperating agency with BLM and understanding the roles and responsibilities that each of us have. Well, that means that you, sir, are potentially one of these people that are sitting behind closed doors that are contemplating or planning to take other people's lands. Because you, sir, are cooperating hand in hand with them while Mr. Hammond went to prison, and they wanted that land very badly. And it seems to me, sir, that you know quite a bit about the law, and you know that there was no malicious intent on the part of the Hammonds to burn any part of the public lands. The whole thing about terrorist charges is that there has to be maliciousness involved. The thing is he put out that fire. If there was any maliciousness, why wouldn't he have started the fire and just let it go? But he's the one who put it out. He started the fire on his land. It should have been you, sir, Mr. Grasty, who stepped up and said because he committed this act on his own property and got away from him, then he faces state charges. And he would only face, at the most, a year in county jail for unintentional arson. But yet, the state right there, or the county of Harney, allowed the federal government to bring charges on him, right? Which would have been negligence because he let the fire get away from off of his property. The only thing that the federal government could have got him for is to recoup their cost under negligence. That's it. So I know there's all these people spouting off in their websites talking about how, I know this and I know that. Well, I'm telling you, the one thing that is lacking in this whole case is malice. If he put out the fire on his own and he fought it on his own, tell me where is the malice involved to give him 5 years for terrorist charges? That tells me that Mr. Grasty does not even care about the very people that he is, judging. He needs to be removed from his position, and I hope the people of Harney County see this and understand that your judge right there, he is working in collusion with the BLM to take your rancher's lands piece by piece. And when that monument is brought in there to your neighborhood coming up here this year, well, then you are going to find yourself out of a ranch just like this lady right here, Mary Bullock, did. Thanks, everybody. I'll leave you guys links and you can check out everything for yourselves.